Welcome to Creative Genius Labs. I'm your host, Zane Wild. Today, on Creative Genius Labs, have you ever wondered if your greatest fears could be the key to unlocking your hidden potential? Today, we unravel the life of a man haunted by his childhood, a darkness that fueled his genius, and ask, can terror be a muse? In a dimly lit screening room in 1979, Alfred Hitchcock watches his masterpiece, Psycho, alone. The infamous shower scene plays before him, its screeching violins piercing the silence. His trembling hand reaches toward the screen, as if trying to touch the terror he created. The master of suspense appears haunted by his own shadow. But did he truly conquer his demons, or did they ultimately consume him? His story reveals a profound truth about the nature of fear itself, one that might change how you view your own darkest corners. London, 1904. A 5-year-old boy stands trembling in a police cell. His crime, simple childhood mischief. His sentence, a lesson in fear, delivered by his own father. Young Alfred Hitchcock clutches a note his father had written, requesting the police lock him up briefly to teach him obedience. Those cold stone walls and iron bars would imprint themselves on his psyche forever. This wasn't just childhood discipline. It was psychological warfare that would shape one of cinema's most brilliant and tortured minds. The boy who entered that cell would emerge with an obsession, control through fear, but not as its victim, as its orchestrator. The London of Hitchcock's childhood was a symphony of grey. Wet cobblestones echoed with footsteps, church bells tolled through fog. Inside his strict Catholic home, young Alfred found himself caught between two forces, a harsh, authoritarian father and a mother who smothered him with food and affection. Both were forms of control, teaching him early that love and fear often wore the same mask. Overweight and lonely, he became an observer of life rather than a participant. Other children's cruelty taught him to find power in watching rather than being watched. He developed an almost clinical fascination with the mechanics of fear. Not the cheap shock of sudden fright, but the exquisite tension of anticipated terror. His entry into filmmaking was accidental. Starting as a title card designer, he showed an uncanny gift for visual storytelling. Each image he created was meticulously planned, each frame a carefully constructed trap for the viewer's emotions. In these early days, you could already see the blueprint of his future mastery. Then came Alma Reville. She recognized in him a kindred spirit, someone who understood the architecture of suspense. Their marriage would become both a creative partnership and a complex dance of control. She was his first willing subject in the art of emotional manipulation, though certainly not his last. When Hitchcock arrived in Hollywood in 1939, he brought his obsessions with him. The sunny California studios were jarring against his methodical, shadow-dwelling nature. But here, he found a larger canvas for his experiments in fear. He didn't just make films, he engineered emotional experiences. His techniques were revolutionary. He understood that true terror lived not in the knife blade, but in the anticipation of its fall. This insight would transform cinema forever, but it came at a price. Psycho changed everything. Shot on a modest budget in black and white, it redefined what cinema could do to an audience. The infamous shower scene wasn't just filmed. It was orchestrated like psychological warfare, with 78 camera setups and 52 cuts in just 3 minutes. Hitchcock didn't just want to shock viewers, he wanted to conduct their fear like a symphony. But his masterpiece revealed something darker. His obsessive control extended beyond the camera. On set, he became notorious for his treatment of actresses, particularly Tippi Hedren during The Birds. He would subject her to 5 days of real birds attacking her, causing physical and psychological trauma. His pursuit of authentic terror had crossed a line from artistry to cruelty. If you're enjoying Creative Genius Labs, please like, subscribe, and scan the QR code for our free 7-day email course, The Master Creators Challenge. Unlock hacks that make Da Vinci, Banksy, and Lady Gaga creative giants. Now, back to the episode. As his fame grew, so did his isolation. The boy who once stood alone in a prison cell had built himself a grander cage. Alcohol became a constant companion. His weight ballooned. Studio executives grew wary of his increasingly dark visions. Despite 5 nominations, he never won an Oscar for directing, a wound that never healed. Yet his influence only grew. Every thriller made since owes a debt to his innovations. He didn't just make films, he created a visual language of suspense that filmmakers still speak today. His techniques weren't just artistic choices, they were psychological tools crafted from his intimate understanding of human fear. In his final years, Hitchcock became increasingly reclusive. The master of control was losing his grip. His last films struggled to find audiences. The world was changing, becoming immune to his carefully crafted fears. Or perhaps he had simply run out of personal demons to exploit. Yet in this decline lies perhaps his most powerful lesson. The very fears that had once imprisoned him had become his greatest strength. He hadn't conquered them. He had transformed them into art that would outlive him. Return now to that screening room in 1979. The elderly Hitchcock watches his younger self's creation with new eyes. The monster he created was never really on the screen. It lived in the space between anticipation and release, between control and chaos. In that space, he had found his power. This is where your story intersects with his. Your fears, like Hitchcock's, aren't merely obstacles to overcome. They're raw materials waiting to be shaped. Every anxiety that keeps you awake at night, every fear that holds you back, contains within it the seed of potential power. What terrifies you most? That's not a rhetorical question. Name it, face it. Now ask yourself, how could this fear become your strength? Hitchcock transformed his childhood trauma into an art form that revolutionized cinema. Your fears might not create the next Psycho, but they could fuel your next breakthrough. The greatest trick fear plays isn't making you believe it doesn't exist. It's convincing you that it can only be your enemy. Hitchcock showed us another way. He taught us that our darkest corners often hide our greatest gifts. The question isn't whether you have fears, it's what you'll create with them. The fear you feel watching a Hitchcock film isn't his, it's yours. He just knew how to hold up the mirror. Now it's your turn to look into that mirror and see not just what frightens you, but what it could become. Your fears are waiting to be transformed. Will you answer their call? On the next episode of Creative Genius Labs. So was Hitchcock a master of fear or its victim? Perhaps the answer lies in understanding how deeply personal demons can fuel artistic genius. What if I told you there was another filmmaker wrestling with shadows just as profound, whose childhood trauma shaped a career of equally unsettling brilliance? This week, we continue exploring filmmaking innovators, venturing into the world of a director whose name became synonymous with stark existential dramas and haunting explorations of the human psyche. Prepare to witness how a strict, religiously oppressive upbringing ignited a creative fire, forging a path through isolation and self-doubt, ultimately transforming inner darkness into cinematic masterpieces. Trust me, you won't want to miss this story. Please like, subscribe, and scan the QR code or follow the pinned link to get our free 7-day email course, The Master Creators Challenge. 7 days, 7 creative legends. Unlock your inner creative genius using the secret tactics of history's most revolutionary artists. Click the video that just popped up to watch the next one in this series. Or for episode summaries, behind-the-scenes info, and more, go to daily8.com/CGL. Thanks for watching.